right. We have Gregg Marcel Dixon here in the building tonight. Thank you so much for your time. This election process is very, very exciting to see, and just to see how our people are reacting to this. I can see us waking up at large. But Greg
Yes.
Marcel, just starting off of seeing Joe Biden drop out of this race, what factors do you think led to this happening? I see you shaking your head. This conversation is about to be very powerful. Of course, will make some people uncomfortable who are loving to both of these parties. But why do you think Joe Biden had to drop out of this race?
I don't really think it was more than just that awful debate he had with Donald Trump. I really do. I'm sorry. Let me get my
No, you're
phone.
fine. You're fine.
I really think it was more than just that awful debate he had. At first, and I'm a person who feels that if anyone in this country has a reason or a right to believe in
Hmm.
conspiracy theories, it is Black Americans, or I like to
Yes.
say freemen, the descendants of people who are enslaved and emancipated here. But
Hmm.
when I hear people say certain things, I always say, I don't know about that. But some people were saying they felt it was a setup all from the beginning, that they
Hmm.
planned for him to have that awful debate and so that they can kind of set the pretext for him to drop out. And at first I said, I don't know if he's going to drop out. But
Hmm.
after that debate, he was in, I
Mm.
believe, Raleigh, North Carolina,
Yeah.
talking, nice and strong. And then when it was announced that he would not run for reelection, and Kamala Harris, who has not yet been nominated by the party, but
Mm.
he endorsed her, it made me think, you know what, maybe something was there. I think that maybe they saw that he was not polling well
Wow.
and that he was not doing as well as they would like him to do or as well as he needed to do
Hmm.
with certain voters in certain swing states.
Right.
Now, Kamala Harris, however, just a month before he dropped out, there was an article, as there have been many articles, saying that she's the most unpopular vice president in American history
That is
and has
true.
had the lowest approval rating of any vice president in American history. And that's a
Mm.
high bar to reach. We've had some
Right.
very, very awful presidents and definitely some awful vice presidents. So I think the Democrats are
Mm.
afraid that they are probably not getting enough of the vote that they need in certain swing states.
Yep.
And I feel that they thought and strategized that having a black face, if you even feel
Mm.
Kamala is black, a lot of
Mm.
people do not feel she is. A lot of
Mm.
people feel that she only pretends to be black when convenient. Hell, even Donald
Mm.
Trump mentioned that at that NABJ
He
conference
did.
yesterday. I
Yes.
feel the same way. She
Hmm.
only pretends to be black when convenient. I saw her birth certificate. Her
Hmm.
mother's race is listed as Caucasian, which in
Yep.
America usually means white. And her
Mm.
father listed his race as Jamaican. He did not
Mm.
claim black. He said Jamaican, and not all Jamaicans are black. So I
Yep.
think they believe that they can use Kamala to try to capture that black girl magic
Yep.
energy and think that, because unfortunately, some of us are still on symbolism who
We
will
are.
think that this woman, who is an Indian American,
Mm.
and if she is black, it's not
Hmm.
from the descendants of people who were enslaved and emancipated here. She's not a freedman.
Hmm.
It will be from Jamaica. So she's a
Mm.
first generation American. She's
Yes.
probably what you would call an anchor baby, a baby that
Mm.
two immigrants had while living in America. But yet they feel that some black people are going to somehow see themselves in her when the majority of us have roots right here in the United States of America going
Yes.
back centuries, such as myself. My roots go back to South Carolina, where I still live to this day. They don't go back to India. They don't go back to Jamaica. They go back right here.
Mm. Yes. Marcel, on that standpoint, right? Our experiences, especially from growing up in the South, coming from Freedmen in the South, you from South Carolina, mine's for family generations in Georgia. Kamala doesn't share the same experience as us. She doesn't share the same ideologies. And yes, we can say that she went to Howard. Yes, we can say she's an AKA. But other than that, when we start getting deeper, it's not the same. Here in Atlanta, just now 2 days ago, we had Meg Thee Stallion on stage twerking with the crop top suit on. And one of the things that I found very disappointing was seeing you twerk and talk about abortion rights while you're twerking, which in its right makes it hypersexualized, which falls into so many different stereotypes. How did you feel seeing Kamala Harris having a Meg Thee Stallion, a Quavo on stage before trying to talk about politics and tangibles and things like that, or suggested tangibles? How did you feel about seeing that?
Sorry. She didn't talk about any specific policies. Matter of
Right.
fact, the only policy I heard mentioned when she talks to black people, irrespective of your lineage, is
Mm-hmm.
abortion. Kill
Mm,
your black babies. Illegal
mm,
immigrants have more babies, and we're going to make
mm,
them citizens. We're
mm,
going to give them free housing,
mm,
clothing, transportation, food,
mm,
healthcare, job training, well-paying jobs. So if you're an illegal immigrant who has had no part in building this nation, matter of fact, you're invading this nation and you hate the Black Americans who built this nation and have fought for the rights of which you are taking advantage of to be able to come to this nation and be treated humanely, she offers them the opportunity to have wealth, to have resources, so they can have children. And then she wants to give them and their children citizenship. With us, it's just kill your babies. As far as having Megan Thee Stallion, first of all, I'm gonna call out Megan Thee Stallion. That was disgusting for her to go up there and perform for a woman who's not offering her people anything. Megan Thee Stallion is a freeman. Her ancestors were emancipated and enslaved here. You think Megan Thee Stallion would say, hey, Kamala, before I go on stage and perform for you, let's talk these policies. What are you
mm.
going to do specifically for my people? I don't want to hear about everyone else.
Right.
My people specifically. Kamala Harris already told us what she's going to do specifically for us. Remember
That's
that viral clip?
yep.
I'm not going to say something that's only going to benefit black people.
Mm,
That's so. Why would you go and perform for that? Are you that brain dead? Are you that stupid? Same thing with Quavo. Going in there talking about stopping gun violence. The Democrats
mm,
have been getting 90% of the black votes that are casted. That doesn't mean 90% of black people are coming out to vote for them, but of the votes that are casted by black people, they get 90% of them, or 85, 90% for 60 years or more. Gun
mm.
violence didn't just start becoming a problem yesterday. And the truth be told, even though I will never deny that gun violence is a problem, if you want to solve the issues of violence, solve the issues of poverty. And you want to
Yes.
solve the issues of poverty, even though
Yes.
reparations is something that we are owed, whether you're
Yes.
rich or whether you're poor, give us our damn reparations. That will
Yes.
solve a lot of issues right there. But here comes
Yes.
Quavo getting up there talking about gun violence. The Democrats had 60 years to do things to address the issues that cause gun violence, and they don't. All they offer is to take our guns. Now, tell me if this makes any sense here. If I'm living in a neighborhood where there are criminalistic people who have guns, is it going to help me to take my gun?
No, I have to
No,
protect
that's the
myself.
dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
Should have my gun so I can
Yes.
defend myself against them if I need to. The truth
Mm,
of the matter is, most Americans are never going to shoot anyone and are never going to have to use a gun to
right.
defend themselves.
Right.
However, it would be ludicrous to say, hey, I'm in a violent neighborhood. Let me give my guns to you so I don't have any way to protect myself. I'll just wait for the police to come, who may then shoot me as well. I may need to protect myself against them. You
Mm,
never know. So he doesn't use anything, and he's dumb. These
mm,
black celebrities are incredibly stupid.
mm.
It's like all you got to do is be the first person to talk to them, and they believe it. They don't use any critical thinking. They don't
Right.
have that sense of, and when I say black, I'm talking about freemen. They don't have
Right.
that sense because these black immigrants, whatever.
Mm,
They get what I'm about to say that other groups get. If she talks to the Asian American community, they understand that, hey, before you get our endorsement, what are you going to do for us? She talks to the
mm.
white Jewish community. They understand that before she gets anything from them, they say, what are you going to do from us? When she talks to the Hispanic community, whatever race they want to be that day, she
Right.
understands that they are going to say, hey, what are you going to do specifically for us? And when she's been asked about things to do for them, she's answered with policies, not a rap concert, not a fish fry. She actually went through a whole spiel about what she would do for goddamn illegal immigrants who are
Wow.
not Americans, had no part in building this nation, but I repeat, are invading this nation to leech off this nation while hating us and making things even more difficult for us. We've already had to deal with racism and hatred.
Hmm.
Now we're letting people who hate us more come and invade the nation, adding on millions more that we're gonna have to fight. With Asian Americans, they went through a few days of hate crimes. She
Hmm.
was one of the main voices calling for that COVID-19 hate crimes bill. The Department of Justice, underneath Biden's administration, set up a whole department just to focus on Asian hate crimes. We haven't gone one day in this nation without dealing with hate crimes against the freedmen. We've never had a Department of Justice, even though it was originally established for us, but the Department of Justice have never specified hate crimes against us as a special issue they are going to tackle. But they did it for Asians in less than a few days. The white Jewish community, she has pledged billions of dollars to support for Israel. She's made statements about how they must continue to support the white Jewish community because of the legacy of the Holocaust. With these Hispanic Americans, and this goes with other groups of immigrant background, we already see what they're doing for the people flooding the border. They're getting debit cards with thousands of dollars. And when cities are having a hard time housing them and feeding them, the federal government, Biden's administration, sends the money.
Hmm.
Now, people may say that Trump didn't do anything to help us. People may make that argument. I'm not going to argue against you, but he sure as hell wasn't doing anything to hurt us. And he sure as hell wasn't doing all these things for these other groups while giving us his behind the kiss. You see, Trump maybe ignored us. The Biden administration ignores us while doing things for others. Which one
Wow.
is more hateful? Someone who ignores everybody or someone who just ignores you, but they make sure they
Mm.
do right for everyone else while you get a front seat to see how they could do for you, but they're choosing not to, and they're showing you they could do because they're doing it for everyone else. Which
Ooh,
one is more hateful?
that is heavy right there because Marcel, just from seeing this entire landscape of seeing immigration be a major issue, as a black man, as a black woman, you will be labeled as xenophobic instantly just for pointing out immigration is not right now, right? Why do you think that they instantly try to call us xenophobic or we aren't being sensitive when we bring up disparities in the treatment of immigrants coming in who are able to get cards, who are able to get transportation or housing, all of these things? But then in these same neighborhoods, Black people have been neglected for decades. Why is it like that?
First of all, that shame
Yeah,
thing, don't let it work on you.
yeah,
I've seen us as freemen, and everyone fights among their own ranks. Like, I hate when people say black on black crime. It is a myth,
right,
it doesn't exist.
right,
I will
right.
have that conversation with anyone any day. When
Hmm.
really white people kill white people,
Yep,
Asian people kill Asian people, Native Americans, Native American people, black
yep,
Americans mainly, if when it happens, because murder is very rare, believe it or not,
yep.
it happens one too many, but it's one of the least committed crimes in America. And when it comes to violent crime, less than 1% of
Wow,
anyone who's black in America will commit a violent crime. And they don't talk about how 60 to 80% of the people who are wrongly arrested for a crime are black, mainly black men. So let's
wow,
talk about that. But
wow.
when I see some of us in public having beefs with each other, having conflict with each other, and sometimes it goes on social media. We don't care what no one says. Even when people say, hey, y'all, stop fighting, your brothers, your sisters. No, we say we're going to stand on business.
Hmm,
We don't let anyone shame us from fighting our own. So
hmm,
don't let them shame us from fighting for our own.
hmm.
It has been shown consistently. They did a study. It was Republicans and Democrats. It started underneath the Bush administration. It ended underneath the Obama administration. And it showed 1980 to 2000 that the rise in immigration, illegal and legal, accounted for, and don't quote me on these numbers, but it was like a 40% increase in Black unemployment, increase in Black male incarceration, an 80% decrease in wages. That's the money you bring home
Yeah.
for Black people, period, but especially black men with a high school diploma or less.
Hmm.
So saying that we do not want our nation to be avoided, that's the most patriotic thing any American can do. Right now, they're sending billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine to protect Ukrainian borders, right? Aren't
Yes.
they sending billions of dollars to Israel to help protect Israeli borders? Is
Wow.
America not saying foreign aid to all these other nations to protect their borders? But it's xenophobic when we want to protect American borders. And when we say that people are here illegally should be incarcerated or deported. And it's funny. This is the Biden administration. Is this not the man who wrote not one, not two, but three crime bills
Wow.
that lock people up, mainly our people, for even the most minor crime? And now, people who are literally invading our nation, committing crimes every day, their very presence in this nation is a crime. We're being told that we're xenophobic with saying that they should be deported or imprisoned. Give me a break. Don't let them shame you. No
Wow.
other group is shamed when they stand up against something that's bad for them and demand something that's good for them. We need to do the same.
Wow.
Don't let them shame
Hey,
you.
that's
Ever.
heavy right there. Wow. That's right. That's heavy. NABJ, that conference, National Association of Black Journalists, have seen that with former President Trump actually having enough, I would say, testicular fortitude to actually show up there in a hostile away environment. And he sat down and he actually stood on everything that he was saying. But something that I didn't like was, how does a person like Donald Trump have availability to show up to that event for Black journalists? But then Kamala Harris says, well, I have to do it at some other time. Optics wise, do you think that that was a bad look for Vice President Harris, Marcel?
For the dummies out there, she can
Mm,
do no wrong. She
mm,
can literally host a whole minstrel show, and
mm,
some people will still find a way to defend it. I mean, this is a woman, and I don't really get into her record
right,
during her time in California, but
right.
it seems to be quite a sordid record in some respects. Okay. Tulsi Gabbard called her out about it on the debate stage. She did not deny any of Tulsi Gabbard's accusations and assertions. There's a guy who was apparently on a reality TV show who was wrongly arrested,
Yep.
and apparently Kamala Harris knew that there was evidence that would exonerate him, and she fought to keep it out of courts. A black man. We already know she did her whole little. I'm not going to just sit and say I'm just saying it's only going to benefit black people, but you can find videos of her talking about things she's going to specifically do for other groups. And when we say black people, we're not talking about all black people. We're talking about black Americans, the freemen, because that question was about whether she would support reparations. And she went through the history of American slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, lynch mobs. That's our history. That's the freeman history. And when she said she wasn't going to do anything specifically for black people, she was talking about us. So if she can get away with all of that in the eyes of these idiots out here who are still doing fish fries for her, she can do no wrong. But that is interesting. Donald Trump showed up, and I've done interviews and I've gone to places where the crowd was hostile towards me. And at the end, just like Trump did, because I really believe it, he came out looking like a champ. And with me,
Yep.
when I'm going to those hostile places, by the time it was over, they were giving me standing ovation. When
Wow.
you go and you are authentic and you are
Wow.
able to speak to people with respect and policies, you will usually get people's respect, if nothing else. You may not always get the adulation, but you will get their respect. But Trump called them out on that. It was three ladies. I don't think the one in the black and the one in the pink, they weren't too bad. They
Yep.
were pretty,
Yep.
professional.
Yep.
That one in the blue, she just
Yeah, I know.
started off attacking him and it
Yeah,
backfired
it
badly.
did.
It's
Yeah.
like I don't think he would have brought up how they were late, the
Yep.
equipment was not working. That was
Yeah.
embarrassing. He was pretty much saying, we are like 30 minutes late. I showed up on
Yep.
time. Y'all are late. You didn't apologize. You didn't greet me. He embarrassed her because she
Mm,
started off aggressively. I do want to say that I wanted to hear more on policies, and I'm a little disappointed in all three of them. I do
yep.
appreciate I hate to say the lady because I don't know, I can't remember their name.
Yep.
One of them, I know she's always on conservative channel.
Yep.
Harris Faulkner. I think I know of
Yep.
her, but the
Yep.
woman in the black. I love that she did push Trump on those
Mm.
comments about full immunity for police. I love that she
Yep.
kept pressing him until he gave an answer. And he kind of clarified. He said it wouldn't be blanket immunity. It would just be if a police officer makes an honest mistake. I'm
Mm.
not saying I'm happy with that answer, but I'm
Yep.
glad she made him clarify. I was waiting for him to hear about that. I'm glad they asked her about Sonya. I don't know if it's Massey, because some people say
Yep.
Massey. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Sonya
Tanya
Massey.
Massey. Yep.
And I wish he should have been prepared a little bit better for some
Yep.
questions, but he
Yep.
came out looking a champ because the one in the blue started off with such hostility, and he
Mm.
was able to clap back. And then, whether we like his policies or not, he kept honing in on something that's important to me that I've already spoken of: mass immigration, well, illegal
Yep.
immigration, and how it's harmful to us, how he's going to stop it. I wish, however, they would have pressed them like, where's your black agenda? Or are you going to do
Right.
something specifically for the freemen? What do you think about reparations? I
Right.
wish they would have spoken policy. I feel like if you and I were on that stage,
Hmm.
all respect to the woman up there, even the woman in the blue, because I'm sure they are where they are because they earned it.
For sure.
All respect to them, and I just sincerely mean that. But I feel like if we were up there, even
Mm.
with our on cold woman,
Mm.
by the time Trump got off that stage, we would have had a commitment of
That's
hundreds of
right.
billions or trillions of dollars
Mm.
specifically for the freemen. I bet we
Mm.
would have. They
Mm.
should have been talking more policy. I don't care if Trump says things that are ignorant. I don't give a
Yes.
damn. We
Yes.
are freedmen. We've
Yes.
been in this nation for centuries, built
Mm.
the nation. We never go on a day without hearing ignorant things about us. I
That's
really
right.
don't care if Trump says mean or ignorant things. I don't care. I
Mm.
care about his policy.
Yes.
Biden not only said ignorant things, such
Yes.
as the hostilities, the racial hostilities will make America a racial jungle, and that's why he
Yep.
was fighting to keep black kids out
Mm.
of school. He
Yep.
wrote the crime bills that put more of us in bondage and since the days of American slavery, and not
Mm.
just one, but three of them. He did the crack cocaine disparity, which pretty much
Right.
decriminalized the form that white people mainly use. They got
Yeah.
help and programs. Black people got imprisonment, even though he knew, I'm sure, that those things were put in our neighborhoods to
That's right.
destabilize us. So Biden doesn't just say ignorant,
Mm.
anti-black American things. He actually did policies that
Yes.
decimated our community. So I don't care if Trump says mean things. Who gives a
Yep.
damn? What
Yep.
about his policies? I wish I would have had the opportunity to engage him or someone else who would have been
Mm-hmm.
thinking status, lineage, specific
Yep.
policies. I bet you by the time Trump left, because Trump is a businessman and he likes to cut deals.
Yes.
I bet
Yep.
by the time he left, we would have had billions of dollars and not trillions
Mm.
specifically for our community. So I felt like it was a missed opportunity, and he
It
made
was.
himself available in
Yep.
an environment that he knew would be hostile. And I wish there was more policy discussion, not about you said mean things. Who gives a damn?
Come on, Marcel, because everything that you just said, I express those same sentiments because I tell people this all the time, right? Moses still met with Pharaoh. Although his people were enslaved, you still got to
That's
meet with
true.
Pharaoh. You still got to meet with them, right? So, how do we start separating emotion from policy? Because to your point, again, what people have to understand at that conference, potentially there is a great chance that this will be your next president again. So, how do we start just establishing a relationship of talking, discussing policy, and not coming out the gate emotional and worried about how he just hurt my feelings? How should we start going about that?
Going to modern times, Malcolm X met with like white bigots, okay?
Yes, that's true.
Like
Yeah,
damn Ku Klux Klansmen.
you're right. You're right.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Ella Baker and them met with Lyndon B. Johnson, who ended
Right.
up getting a lot of civil rights legislation pushed through, but he used to call the civil rights bill. I don't want to say anything on your platform that'll get it dang. He used to call it the N-word bill.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
people have a history of saying, I mean, I despise this person personally, and I'm not saying I despise Trump personally. I don't know him
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
My hatred for Trump, because I did used to strongly dislike him, but it started to subside when Ice Cube said, hey, who wants to come with a black agenda? And he reached
Right.
out to the Biden campaign and the Trump campaign. The Biden
Yeah.
campaign said, you better know your place. We'll meet with you after you vote for me.
Yep.
And the Trump
Yep.
campaign said, hey, let's talk business, and met with him right away. Biden
Yep.
campaign has still yet to meet with Ice Cube, and they're not going to do it. That showed us how they feel about us. Trump
Mm.
campaign met right away. Um, I feel that it takes people who are politically mature.
Mm,
Okay. That's why, unfortunately, we have a lot of these politically immature, democratic loyalists. And I meant what
yep,
I say, democratic loyalists in power.
yep,
They're loyal to a party that for 60 years, our home rates of home ownership are still the same as they were during Jim Crow, when it was
wow,
legal to discriminate against us. Y'all can look it up
right,
for yourselves. That's
right,
after 60 years of voting for them. 90% of our land is gone. They have not written one piece of legislation, or I should say, have not advanced one piece of legislation, even though they had during Obama's administration and during Biden's administration. They had the full House, the full Senate, and the presidency. They did not do one piece of legislation to help us get compensation for our land. They're trying to talk about this recent payout that's going to go to farmers. Talk about it's for black farmers. It's not just going to black farmers. It's going to white farmers. It's going to people who are denied a loan because they were women. It's going to Native American farmers. It's going to farmers whose ethnicity is Hispanic, but they're trying to make it seem like it's a black thing. No, the bill is going to anyone who was denied for any trait, race, gender, language. So that's not a black thing. It's definitely not no damn reparations because of the unpaid debt from slavery and stolen, denied wealth from Jim Crow and redlining. We need people out politically mature, and that's why we need people like you. We need to have our
mm,
own media, people who can
yeah,
get our voices out there. Joy Reid is a first generation American. Her
yeah,
damn parents came from another country, Guyana and the Congo, I think Democratic Republic of Congo.
mm,
So even though at times, I'll give Joy credit, at times she does say some things that are true, but she's not going to advocate for us. And even if she
mm,
was one of us, she's paid off. She, to me, is beholden to the Democratic Party.
yeah,
I'm not even going to say the names of these other people, but a lot of them are in the Democratic Party's pocket. They are not for us. They are for the Democratic Party. They feel that our job is to be the best Democrat that we can be, not
mm,
to be the best advocate for Black Americans, freedmen, because even if you are an immigrant, you are still here largely because of Black Americans. The Immigration Act of 1965 would not have happened without our civil rights movement. They don't see that as they want to be the best advocate for us they can be. They care about how can I be the best Democrat I can be. And it happens on the Republican side too, but only 8% of our votes nationally goes to the Republicans. I'm not going to be checking for the party, which most of us don't vote. I'm going to check for the party that gets 85 to 90% of our votes. Get the vote, you're going to get the accountability.
that's right. On that standpoint too, why do you think that they always avoid a freedman in a high role in politics? Barack Obama, right? That's somebody who's not foundational to this land. Kamala Harris, not foundational to this land. Why do they always try to go after people who can identify as quote unquote black, but not really be black American? Why is that always the case?
Wait, you mean to tell me I thought Kamala Harris's people were from Alabama?
Mm,
I thought
wow.
she was from, I thought she had roots in Alabama, Mississippi. You know, I'm just being funny. The way they try
Yeah,
to make it seem, you
yeah,
would think Kamala Harris's people are from rural Louisiana.
yep,
This is a woman
yep,
whose people are from India and Jamaica. No ties to American slavery like we have. To the legacy of the sharecropping and Jim Crow and debtors prison and redlining. None at all. The reason they do that is because of symbolism, and we fall for it all the time. Now, I'm not saying if you put a freedman in power, that will make things better.
of
Look at
course.
Michelle Obama. Michelle
Yep,
Obama was not an elected official, let me be fair, but she
right.
did have a platform as a first lady, and she did
Hmm.
speak out on many things. When they
Yep,
struck down affirmative action, thank goodness, because it wasn't helping us anyway. It was mainly helping white women. That's a
yep,
fact. Every study that's been done has proved it. White
yep,
women were and will probably continue to be the main beneficiaries of affirmative action because it only struck down the race aspect, not the sex aspect. Then it was immigrants. That's been proven as well. When they struck that down, Michelle Obama wrote an impassioned letter about it. She could easily write a letter about what we're owed. To be fair to her, she did talk about when the White House being built by slaves. She did allude to the history of American slavery, redlining, and Jim Crow, but she never spoke about the repair that needs
Right.
to be done from that time period. I call out Republicans, white conservatives, all the time. You want to honor the Confederate flag. You want to talk about the lost cause. Okay, if you want to honor that time period, let's talk about, if you want to continue to talk about the legacy of that time period, let's repair the damage from that time period. If you want to acknowledge that that time period still has an impact on now, we definitely can show you data, that same argument with us and how we old. If Michelle Obama wants to talk about that time period, and how it still has a legacy now, then talk about the damage that was done, how it still continues now, and how we still have yet to be paid the debt until now.
Exactly. Reparations. Why do you think that that word makes those candidates so uncomfortable anytime that conversation comes up? It's like they start getting sweaty. They try to dodge that. Why does that make them so
It
uncomfortable
will
when it
wake
comes
us
to
up.
us?
That's what it
Wow.
is.
Wow.
Once we hear that we are old reparations, which the truth be told, with most Black Americans, freedmen hear about reparations, they know we're old. Some doubt that it will ever happen. If you do, that's pathetic. Our people were told slavery would never end. We fought
True.
and it did. Our people
Yep.
were told that Jim Crow would never end. We fought and it did. So if you're sitting there saying that we will never get reparations, you are embarrassment to your ancestors' legacy. You
Mm.
are embarrassment to your parents and grandparents and great grandparents' legacy. We talk about Jim Crow like it was a long time ago. A lot of people who were around during the days of Jim Crow are still around now, like
Yep.
both my parents. Still
Yes.
alive and
Yes.
very well. My great
Yes.
grandfather, who's 100, is still alive and well.
Wow.
I have a great grandaunt who's 100, still alive and well.
Wow.
You are an embarrassment to our legacy, and you don't deserve the pride of our legacy. You don't. But if they start talking about reparations, and they do mention reparations, but they do it in a way that they know will set it up for failure. They try to make it race based. Oh, reparations for black people? Want to do reparations for black people? They know damn well you cannot do race-based reparations. Reparations is not a race-based thing. If you look at the history of reparations, it was always done based on status. With the
Yep.
Japanese Americans who were interned, they had a special status or a special class. It went to them. And in the case where they were dead, it went to their children or
Mhm.
surviving spouses. With Native Americans, the original Native Americans that were originally done wrong, they've been dead for centuries. These settlements they get, it goes to now these people who are their great, 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 great grandchildren. The Iranian hostages, it went to
Yep.
that class, that special
Yep.
status, and I believe in that case, it went to their children. And the
Yep.
Guamanians, it went to the people of the status who were taken as hostages by the Japanese. The downwinders, the people who were poisoned by radiation from nuclear bomb testing, it went to that special status, that group. And it goes, because they just renewed it, they always renew it. They do it quiet. They always renew it. It's going to their children. It's going to their grandchildren. Okay, they try to say reparations for black people, knowing that it will fail because underneath the 14th Amendment, it has to be equal protection under the law. So what they'll do is they'll try to say, we try to do reparations for you black people, or and then the Republicans will say, that's unconstitutional. I'm gonna sue to block it. And then when it gets struck down, they'll say, you see, those Republicans, they're not like us. You know, that whole phony
Exact.
citing hip
Yep.
hop lyrics. We
Yep.
tried to help you black people, but the Republicans don't like us. That's why y'all gotta keep voting for us. And then some of us think are so naive, we'll think, well, the Democrats, they're trying to look out for us. The Republicans are the one that stops it. So we need to keep voting for the Democrats. They can get those reparations done, and they'll keep telling us that we try to do it, but it can't be done. Reparations is based on status. Ours is no different from all the others I just named. If you are a descendant of the emancipator, you are a freedman, that's a special status. And people say lineage. Well, if you are of the lineage, then you will have the status. And that's the
Exactly.
status of freedmen. And that's how you get reparations done. They know that's the way to do it. That's how they was able to get this payout to the farmers. They tried to do it based on race. It got struck down. So now they're doing based on a class or a status of people who were discriminated against by the USDA. So we have a modern day example that just happened.
That's excellent. Yes. And seeing that again, like what you said, it's proven it can happen. Project
It's
2025.
being done right now as we
Marcel,
speak.
Man, exactly. When I keep seeing them talk about Project 2025, I'm just like, either they're already doing this or it's about to happen regardless. How did you feel about Project 2025? And do you think it's used as a ploy to just fearmonger us into voting for the Democratic Party?
We've been going through Project 1500s all the way to the 1600s, Project
Right.
1601, all the way to Project 1700s, Project 1701, all the way to Project 1800s, Project 1801, Project 1900, Project 1901
Right.
to Project 2000. So, I mean, I'm tired of us being so goddamn afraid to, oh, they're going to take our rights away. What rights do we have that's being respected?
Mm,
We have the least amount of wealth. Our home ownership is around the same as Jim Crow. Our land is almost entirely gone. Our wealth is going backwards. Been a few bumps here and there, but it's still largely going backwards.
yeah.
Our marriage rates in the toilet. It's been increasing slowly, but still largely in the toilet when you compare it to where it was actually during the days of Jim Crow. Our kids perform the worst in school, which is why we don't know why some of us fight for these public schools. I like these educational options. Give it to us. Let's take care of our own kids. We can educate them. We can handle our kids. We've done it before under worse
Yep.
circumstances. We can definitely do it now. We live in communities with poisoned water. We live in communities that have toxic contaminants in the air. I can go on about our dire situation. We're acting like Project 2025. Project 2025 is something that scares white liberals.
Woo.
And white liberals, they
Right.
try to use us and weaponize us to help protect them while they do nothing to protect us. I'm not afraid of Project 2025. I'm asking where the Democrats Project 2025 for us. If Project 2025 is supposed to be something that's specifically going to hurt us, freemen, then where's your specific plan for the freemen? Where's this plan about land ownership? Where's your plan about dramatically increasing black home ownership? That's no goddamn measly $10,000. I'm talking about land housing grants because you destroyed a lot of our neighborhoods. You put highways and railroads through a lot of our
Yes.
neighborhoods.
Yes.
You discriminated against us underneath the Federal Housing Authority for decades. And even now, it's been shown, like with Wells Fargo,
Yep.
Bank of America, even when black applicants have perfect credit, good income, they are still being discriminated against 50 to 87% rejection rate. So where's this dramatic increase in black home ownership, housing grants, land grants? Where's your grants to get black Americans back into farming so we can have food independence? Where is the special department of Freeman, Office of Freeman Affairs, so we can start our own Freeman schools and have class protection status, which technically we already have, but is not being respected? Where's your
Right.
Project 25 to protect us? Stop trying to use us to fairmong us to voting for you to get nothing. And I'm more afraid of Project 2024. Illegal immigrants flooding our nations who hate us. The first thing some of them
Mm,
do when they get over here is look for a wannabe white supremacist group they can join so that they can terrorize us. The first thing some of them do when they get over here is have an anchor baby, teach that anchor baby to hate us. And then there's some of these politicians you see, like that Hispanic woman that was the white Hispanic woman that was in California talking against our reparations claim, or that white
mm,
Hispanic woman who's running for office in Missouri talking about if we want reparations, get the F out the country. Or that
yeah.
white Hispanic
Yep.
guy, Ryan Garcia, talking about he wants to
Yep.
join the Ku Klux Klan and lynch N-words. Those are the
Mm,
type of children that these illegal immigrants are raising. A lot of them. And even the black immigrants, a lot of them are tethers. Not all. I'm not even going to say most, but I'm going to say a lot of them are. And they're coming here with hatred and vitriol. That's Project 2024. I'm afraid
mm,
of Project 2024, where every single group the Democrats are doing plenty for. Trillions of dollars to care for illegals, trillions of dollars to foreign countries, trillions of programs to help Cuban refugees, Haitian refugees. Haitians don't get treated so well, but they treat them better than us. Ukrainian refugees, Afghani refugees, corporations, trillions. The military can't even account for trillions of dollars. They're still giving them a trillion each year. We get nothing. They're rubbing it in our face that they could do for us. They're choosing not to. They're going to watch us become politically, economically extinct. I'm afraid of Project 2024, where we already deal with tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people who may have anti-freeman hate, might be bigots, or at least are not educated on our cause and maybe would support it, but they have to be educated. They're importing tens of millions more who are going to be anti-Freeman bigots who are going to add to the ranks against what we have to fight. That's Project 24 that the Democrats want. I want no part of it. And while I am definitely never going to support the Republicans, I'm sure as hell not going to vote for the agenda of the Democrats, which is Project 2044, which we've been living right now.
That's heavy right there. Marcel, where do you think is the source of so much anti-Freedman hate when it comes to us? Because we'll see people, whether they're coming from any part of the world. It could be from Africa, it could be from the Caribbean, from Mexico, South America, to where they can come into this country and call Black Americans lazy. They'll try to call us criminalistic. Where does all of this vitriol come from?
Well, Duke University did a study in the early 2000s with mainly Mexicans who were in this country illegal, mainly in
Mhm.
North Carolina and South Carolina, but there was a few other states too. And 63% of these illegals said that Black Americans did not make good neighbors, were
Wow.
troublemakers, criminalistic, all types of other negative attributes. When they asked white Americans in North Carolina and South Carolina, mind you, it was only 15 to 16% who had such disgusting views. So if we think we know anti-Black American hate now, we don't know anything until we deal with these bigots and disgusting invaders who are invading our nation with anti-Black American hatred. Where it comes from, I mean, that's America.
Mm.
That's something that's reported by the American government. When the American government has shown that they can acknowledge other groups that have been treated despicably by the government. This is not about what white Americans did or what any particular group of Americans did to us historically. It's about what the federal government did or what the federal government allowed. Or should I say, and what the federal government did and what the federal government allowed. When they have had other groups that have been wronged
Yep.
and they paid them. They paid them reparations. They repaired them. They said, this was wrong. We did this. We are going to pay your reparations. We're going to repair the wrong that was done. And they don't do it for us. The federal government is sending a message to the world that, hey, you are not going to mistreat any of these other groups, but these freemen, these Black Americans, treat them any way you want.
Hmm. Wow.
But also us, we've been too nice to our enemies.
Yeah.
All this
Whew.
trying to love everyone,
Wow.
all this wanting to be chill with everyone. Cut it out. Hate people who hate you back.
Hmm. That's heavy. That's heavy stuff right there. Circling back to that NABJ conference, which I thought was again so interesting. The journalist who first was talking to former President Trump, her first question was something along the lines of, why should Black Americans vote for you? And I thought that that was so interesting because I'm like, okay, we never asked that question to the Democratic Party. So I'm like,
Yep.
okay, so we can ask these questions. We just want to ask it to the people who we are trying to go against. So with that being said, I would pose that question to Kamala Harris. Marcel, why should the Black American population should or shouldn't vote for Vice President Harris?
Well, like I already said, she made it clear. I mean, didn't she? She already told us why she shouldn't. I'm not going to do anything that's only going to benefit Black people. No. So, and
Yeah,
when she said Black people, I want to make it very clear. She went through the history of American slavery. She went through the history of sharecropping, debtor's prison, lynch mobs, destruction of prosperous black towns and black wall streets. She didn't necessarily say the exact words, but she pretty much alluded to it.
mhm,
Redlining, Jim Crow, exclusion from wealth
right,
building programs like the Homestead Act and GI Bill. That's our history. That's not a damn Jamaican history.
right,
That's not a Haitian history. That's not a Nigerian history or Colombian or Panamanian history. That's our history. And
right.
then she said, I'm not going to do anything specifically or
Yeah,
only to benefit those people. So
that's all you need to know.
no one can say it better than her.
Yeah, our people, I'm starting to see that people are truly exhausted with this process of voting, whether it's locally, whether it's on a federal level. Do you think that we should still be just participating in this process, or should we start holding our vote? How do you feel about this?
I feel that everyone has the right. I feel like we have a right to vote and we have a right to not vote. Now,
Hmm.
you can't shame people into voting, shame the damn candidates, especially the ones who have the money and have the platform to get their message out to the masses. If people have heard their message and they've been able to get their message out to the masses, and the masses or a significant portion of people still do not vote for them, shame the candidate for not
Mm.
having a good enough policy that convinced people to come out to vote for them. Shame them. Don't shame people for not voting for them. Shame them for being a piss poor candidate.
Ooh.
I would also say, and first of all, a lot of corruption happens in these elections. I strongly believe that. I'm always going
Yeah.
to believe that.
Yeah.
But number two, I feel that we need to find our own candidates.
Yeah.
There's over 50 million Black people in this nation. It's more than that. I'll say 50 to 55 million. And I'll
Yeah.
say of that 50 to 55 million, that means there's 45 to 50 million who are freedmen. There's
Mm.
enough of us who have the the will to want to run for office and have the ability to do so, and would do very well if they have the support. We
Right.
can't complain about the way things are politically for us and yet not find anyone to advocate for us politically. And when we do, we don't support them.
Yeah.
When we find someone who's supporting us politically, we don't support them. Stand up
Yeah.
for the people who stand up for us. So we have
Right.
to start our own political action committees that can raise an unlimited amount of money to promote any political agenda,
Yeah.
find our own candidates, have people who are going to support those candidates. We
Right.
can also organize voting blocks. And when some people say, hey, if you don't have this, I'm not going to vote for you, that's a voting block. That's them saying, give us this or you won't get our votes. If you give us this, you'll get our votes. That's a voting block. That's a
Exactly.
part of organizing politically.
Yeah.
I also feel that we need our own media platform. But
Yes.
to answer your question, just to circle back, absolutely. People have
Yeah.
a right to vote. People have a right not to vote.
That's
That's
right.
their damn right.
Yes, sir. Speaking on policy, what policy should we demand from our politicians? Because people always try to retort and say, okay, well, since y'all are so passionate, what should the policies look like? So, Marcel, before we vote for a Kamala or for a Trump, what does the demands of Black America, what does that look like for us in your own eyes?
You see, I'm not a single issue voter, but my most important issue is reparations. So
Right.
I'm always going to have that conversation.
Yeah.
However, you have to be logical.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask Trump's administration about reparations. I speak with someone from his team, and I
Hmm.
always talk about reparations. But Trump is running against the Republican Party banner, and the
Yeah.
Republican Party nationally gets around 8 to 9% of the Black vote. It's
Hmm.
going to be a far bigger challenge for him to push reparations than it will be
Right.
for Kamala Harris, who's in a party that gets 90% of the Black vote, 85 to 90%, and we are their most loyal constituency. They owe us something like reparations. They should be saying, you're my most loyal constituency. What is it y'all want? I got you. That's really how it works in politics. You vote for a party in large numbers, they look out for you. So reparations will definitely be one. On the Trump side, this is why I am pretty sure I'm going to support him, but I'm still waiting on some things, to see some things, but I'm like 90% sure it's because he's consistently against illegal immigration. Not only does he want to stop to close down the border, he wants to deport them. And that's something that could, because that we have to have that. Because if not, these Democrats going to give these illegals the right to vote. We already see in local elections in California and Maryland, for example, and DC, they're giving these illegal immigrants, these invaders, the right to vote. If we are not getting anything now
Mm.
and we have the right to vote, what are we going to get when they add tens of millions more of these illegal invaders who hate us?
Wow.
Give them a voice. You think they're going to vote for our interests, or you think they're going to vote against our interests? It's definitely going to be the latter. They should not be allowed to vote anywhere in this nation, anywhere. So I'm leaning strongly towards Trump because he wants to stop mass immigration. But also, there are other policies. When I'm speaking with this person from Trump's team, I said, okay, he had on the platinum plan, he said a Department of African American Affairs. That will probably get shot down, even though they
Yeah.
have a Bureau of Indian Affairs, so maybe it wouldn't. But I
Right.
said, let's make it okay. You want to do a Department of African American Affairs? Fine. But let's do an Office of Freedmen Affairs that is status lineage specific just for the freedmen, and you can allocate them a budget.
Right.
That is not reparations. but that will help us to set up the infrastructure. We could do lineage status-based cards, identifying everyone who is of the lineage and has the status. We can use that budget for that office to do a lot of things. So that's why I've been speaking with on the Trump side. But also, I actually think Trump could bring reparations to the table to millions, hundreds of millions of white conservatives. And I actually think it will go far better than we believe. One thing Trump could do at least is bring the conversation to that side. Have the conversation, allow there to be education. I met plenty of white conservatives who have said, if you had asked me about reparations before I heard you referring to me speak, I would have said, absolutely not, I'm against it. But they say, you know what? This nation is paying trillions of dollars to people
Yes.
we to whom we owe nothing, to
Yep.
whom hate us. If we're
Yes.
going to spend that money, let's invest it in Black Americans because we are Americans. We don't have another country to go to. These
Right.
immigrants, legal and illegal, get money from the government in the case of people who get welfare. A lot of immigrant land households are getting welfare and they're sending 15 to 30% of their money to other countries, hundreds of billions of dollars. We as Black Americans, our money will go right back into this economy, build up this economy. The conversation can be made, and I'm promising you support can be had on that side.
Yes. That's an excellent point. Marcel, you've been great. I only have a few more questions for you. I appreciate you for your time. When I see immigration and what's going on at the borders, right? And now with voting happening during this time of 2024, I do not think that that's by accident, by no stretch of the imagination at all. Do you think that the Democratic Party is now trying to shift away from Black America and now create a new Black America
Yes,
that they can use as a voting class?
these corporations don't want to pay us a fair wage, so they're importing cheap labor. And I hate when people say,
Ah,
well, you
yep,
can't compete with them. What do you mean compete? If
yep,
we are not doing the hiring or firing,
that's true.
there's no competition to be had. It's
Yeah,
unfair. They cheated. The
yeah,
corporations cheated, and then legal immigrants cheated. The
yep,
corporation said, if I hire these Americans, they're not going to do this job for this wage. Let me
that's right.
import cheap labor. Corporations are importing cheap labor. Politicians, mainly the
Yep,
Democrats, are
yep,
importing their own voters.
yep.
Absolutely. And that's
Wow.
one of the things that what Trump brought up at the
Yep,
NABJ. I have been saying that for the longest. They're
yes,
trying, corporations want to import cheap labor. These politicians need to be put in prison, are trying
yeah.
to import their own constituents.
Marcel, to your point, you are speaking facts because I know that Black people got so uncomfortable by hearing him say Black jobs, but I
Not
knew
me.
what he meant because when you start thinking about essential workers or warehouse jobs, you can see where they try to hire temp services where you have immigrants who come in and they work with poor work conditions and they don't come in and try to fight against those things. They'll take half pay, all of those. So then by nature in this capitalistic society, you're going to go with the cheapest form of labor. So, yes, you were right on the money about that. Overall, where do you see the future political landscape for Black America?
Well,
Where do
we're
you see
waking
it
up.
heading?
We're
Yeah.
waking up, but you know, it's a little too slow.
Hmm.
And that's why we need platforms like yours to help get the word
Hmm.
out. We are waking
Yeah.
up. I mean, I think Obama helped to wake us up, see that this symbolism stuff is not working.
Yeah.
Of course, too many of us are still falling for it. You're always gonna have, you're always gonna have that. But we are waking up. I've seen a lot of people say, like some people have questioned whether Kamala is black. Some people say she's not a black American, so stop trying to act like she's not. She's like us. She's not like us. So she
Hmm.
want to cite hip hop lyrics.
Right.
Some people say, what's her agenda? What's her policy? People are talking more about Second Amendment rights, which is important to us. Mass immigration, which hurts us. People are talking more about reparations. People talk more about running for office. So we're waking up, but we need to do it quicker.
Yes. When people think it is divisive for us to say we want a plan just for freedmen, foundational Black Americans, what retort do you have towards that argument where they try to say we're divisive? What do you have to
Don't
say
let them
towards that?
shame us. We're
That's right.
self-interested like every other group is. Do not let them shame us. We're self-interested. We one thing, that's what other groups get that we were not getting, and now we do.
Right. Yes, sir. Marcel, on the way out, how can we better support you? What political plans do you have in the future? How can we tap in with you and support you?
Well, I'm running for office right now,
Yes, sir.
and I'm going to the general election. My
Hmm.
primary, I'm my party's nominee. I'm running third party for the United Citizens Party.
Yes, sir.
First, if people want to donate, because that always helps,
Yep.
it's marcelforcongress.com/donate.
Hmm.
Second thing is I have to get the word out about, and I have people who around the clock are mailing out flyers to constituents in my area. If
Okay.
anyone wants to sign up to do that, they can email me at info@marcelforcongress.com. That is one of the biggest helps right now. Donations
Yes.
and volunteering to mail out flyers.
Awesome. Very last question too, Marcel. Why should everybody vote for you right now during this election season?
Well, my slogan is justice for all or justice for none. You can't do right by illegal immigrants, which you're not doing right by them. You're actually doing, by doing right by them, you're doing wrong for all Americans. But if
Mm-hmm.
you can spend trillions on caring for them, trillions for Ukraine, trillions for Israel, trillions on foreign nations, trillions for corporations, but you have Americans of any background suffering, that's not justice. If you could do reparations for all these other groups, but not for freemen, the Black Americans or the descendants of the emancipated, that's not justice.
Right.
If people have public schools and some of them are awful, but some of the other areas are great, and there are systemic issues that are causing disparities, that's not justice.
Yes.
If you are going to say that a person who has a crime can't be asked for their criminal background, but you can have a reference where a person can call a job and a manager who caused the problem and say, don't hire her or him. That's wrong. That's
Right.
not justice. If you're going to say to people like they have to take a vaccine, but the companies that produce the vaccine are not going to be responsible for any side effect, if we
Yeah.
have to take it, then you have to be responsible for the side effects. That's not justice.
Right.
That's what I'm all about. Doing right, no matter if it's popular or easy.
Man, Marcel, this was another phenomenal conversation. I appreciate you, brother. Once this is posted, I'll make sure to share it with you. But thank you for your time, brother. I
Thank
appreciate
you
you
so
again.
much for having me, Kayla. You take care.
All right, brother, and you be safe.
You too.